morning, viewers. You're welcome to today's edition of Now Streaming, reaching you live from the Advent Cable Network Nigeria Television. I am your Uncle Smart Sunday Simon, and I have with me in the studio Honorable Dennis Agbo, Labour Party candidate for Udenu Igboeze North Federal Constituency, Enugu State, for the House of Representatives. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Viewers, before we go to the trending stories and discussion for the day, let's take a look at some of the newspaper headlines from chosen newspapers this morning. Do remember to call in to give your contribution via the number showing on your screen, or send your comment via our social media handle. And we are starting with this day, and the headlines says, "Are you PDP not built on any individual? No person can destabilize it." And the kicker says, 2023 polls, a referendum on APC, says Atiku. Boast is being tried, tested. He receives Shekaro into the party. Wike, something will happen in PDP soon. And an ex-Kano governor writes INEC on new status to withdraw Senate ticket. That is that from the This Day paper. And I would like to ask your thoughts on what is happening with PDP.
Well, thank you once again for having me in your studio. It's an interesting development in PDP. Used to be my party once upon a time. And I think with them, it is the more they try, the more the problems get complicated. Because I think it is just the aftermath of building on a faulty foundation. And I think they are there and they have to just live with their problems. I wish them well, and I hope they'll be able to get out of it. It is if they don't go back to the foundation and begin to rebuild it, it is going to get worse rather than get better.
All right, thank you so much. Moving on to The Guardian. 2023, federal government to borrow 11 trillion naira. Spend 3.3 trillion on subsidy. Wow, I saw this figure this morning. I was shocked. And is Nigeria collapsing already? How are we going to get out of this problem to borrow 11 trillion? And already we have so much to pay. Your thought on this, sir?
Yes. I happen to be an accountant, and my background is banking.
Okay.
And speaking from the point of view of economics, I think Nigeria has failed. There's no better word to use. I wish I can find a better word to use to describe the economic state of my country. What you notice is that debt service, they are essentially borrowing to service debt, because the debt obligations are falling due. And the revenue of government is no longer able to even service the debt. So they are still having to borrow to service the debt. Now, after servicing debt, there are fixed obligations of government, like the overhead expenses, which falls due every now and then. Nobody's now talking about capital investment in capital projects in Nigeria. It is very, very unfortunate. No country moves forward without investment in capital projects. You have to develop your economy, you have to move forward, you have to maintain the infrastructure, You have to invest so as to invest in your health sector, invest in education, invest in your social investments for you to move forward as a country. Otherwise, you stagnate, and even more than stagnating, you begin to recede. And that is where we are right now. Look at it. All the income, all the revenue of government in Nigeria targets our oil. That is the bad news. That's the tragedy. Because we are not producing any other thing. My party, like you mentioned, I'm of the Labour Party. We are trying to move Nigeria from consumption to production. The total revenue of Nigeria is barely a $30 billion US dollars in 1 year. It is very possible in the very first year of an administration to increase our revenue by at least 100 billion US dollars. Wow! By getting into the agricultural sector where we have comparative advantage and beginning to export agricultural produce, beginning to add value addition on our agricultural produce, so as to also participate in the exportation market. For instance, look at our cocoa. We produce cocoa beans. As a country as close to us as Ghana, they now produce chocolate bars. They process these things into other value-added products. We don't do that. Look at our textile industry. It has completely collapsed.
Exactly.
We have what it takes to produce the raw material for our textile industry. Then we will now begin to produce materials. Then we can now even go forward again to produce clothing. We have what it takes to produce shoes, footwears. We have what it takes to increase our the quantity of our agricultural produce. First of all, to feed our local population, and then to export to the neighboring countries. There are raw materials that are needed, agricultural raw materials in the pharmaceuticals and in the animal feed sector, both in Nigeria and outside, that are in ready demand. These things can give us much more revenue, both foreign exchange and domestic revenue in local currency, that will far outweigh what we are presently earning on oil. So it's not surprising at all. It's a shocking news, but it is not a surprising news because you cannot eat your bread and have it.
Thank you so much. And the Nigerian News Direct so capture it very well by giving us some details here. It said 2023 federal government proposes 19.76 trillion budget of 12.41 trillion deficit, and they said project 6.34 trillion revenue. So the revenue is around 6 trillion, and then target 373.17 billion oil revenue.
Let me even add to this. Another very serious matter in Nigeria, in our economic management, is corruption. Today, we can no longer account for our oil production. Today, NNPC now reports zero revenue. They say that everything they are earning, they are using to subsidize fuel. It is projected that fuel subsidy will cost the government about 6.6 trillion naira. 6.6 trillion. Where does that happen? And who consumes this fuel? How many liters of fuel are we consuming per day? They say they are talking about like 10 million liters of fuel every day in Nigeria. Can we actually do an audit of the consumption of our fuel? Because it is not sustainable at all for you to pay 6.6 trillion naira in subsidy. It's not sustainable. I can bet you that if you verify the consumption, you'll find that we don't consume up to 1/4 or more than maybe 1/3 of what.
So it's like they pay people
we subsidize petroleum products
that we don't
and
use.
It is moved across the border to other neighboring countries. That's one. Number two is that there is even fraud of the subsidy itself, subsidy calculation. Not even about the quantity of the PMS that comes into Nigeria, which is also shipped after collecting a subsidy, shipped to Niger Republic, shipped to other neighboring countries, because you cannot be buying fuel in Nigeria at prices that are far cheaper than what it obtains in neighboring countries without having to confront the issue of people moving the products to other neighboring countries. So we are burning our candle from two sides, and it is most unfortunate. Corruption is very, very serious in Nigeria. It has only gotten worse. How is it that, when we hear about the figures of stolen monies stolen by one individual, monies destroyed or swallowed by a snake, or money swallowed by a monkey, money that documents destroyed by termites,
18 billion to clear bushes.
Yes.
Yes,
and then paying for school meals when we are supposed to be on COVID lockdown.
Yeah.
These are things you hear, and you find that the government has lost control, completely lost control. But so I know that if you want to reverse the trend and you control corruption, which will lead you to control the amount we pay on subsidy, which will lead you to plug the leakages,
exactly,
which will lead you to manage the cost of governance.
That is another.
These four things I've mentioned here will completely reverse the trend. We will return ourselves to speed. We will at least be able to balance our budget, because what I have told you here runs into trillions of naira, each of these items, and there are more like that, because it's like our national treasury is just wide open and nobody is checking anything.
Thank you so much for your thought. Moving on, the next newspaper headline is on ASU strike, and it's coming from This Nigeria, and it says, after 197 days, ASU says strike now indefinite. We've met 80% of their demands. That is federal government saying so. Membership of striking union not compulsory for state varsities. If they have met 80% of their demands, why are they still going on indefinite strike? And we have some other trending stories here, which I will add to it, and I will allow you to comment. ASU declare indefinite strike. Elect pro-people leaders, Pella tells students. ASU strike, certificate forgery destroying education standard. This is coming from a group. And then Anambra college lecturers protest 6 years unpaid allowances. Let me read the statement from the Punch this morning, and it says the academic staff union of universities have declared a total and indefinite strike. Punch has reported that ASU National Executive Council will meet on Sunday to take a decision over the government's lackadaisical attitude towards the demand and plight of lecturers. Meanwhile, a meeting between ASU executives and the federal government's Mimi Briggs Committee on August 16, 2022 ended in deadlock. In a statement titled ASU Strikes Are to Save Public Universities, and signed by ASU National President, said NEC observed with regret that the union had experienced a lot of deceit at the highest level in the last 5.5 years, saying the federal government engaged ASU in fruitless and unending negotiation without a display of utmost fidelity. Yeah, so your thought on this, sir?
Yeah, on ASU, all I want to say is this. The government can no longer get out of this. And between ASU and the federal government, I am not a child again, and I follow events and I read between the lines. I would rather believe ASU than believe the government. If you have met 80% of their demand, how much is the other 20%? Why don't you just go ahead and meet the 20% and let them go back to school? I have heard people who are saying that Nigerian students should go and sue ASU. Sue ASU for what? Strike is not an unlawful thing. It's not something that's against the law. Where agreements have been defaulted. Now, we are not talking about the government that defaulted the agreement. We are talking about ASU. It's a very pathetic story. But let me say this. We are even digging ourselves deeper into the hole. Because every day that counts, children are at home. Lecturers are not lecturing. But they are going to collect salary for every day they stay at home. If the government wants to raise this issue of no work, no pay, that is how complicated they will make the matter. We have to make up our mind and be ready to confront that aspect of paying all the arrears of salaries of university workers, university lecturers. Why? Because they called out their members on strike, not because of their own wrongdoing, but because government failed on agreements. They issued warning strike. They did all manner of things that they could do to save the situation, to save the situation from degenerating to a strike. But the government never met their own part of the bargain. And then they called their members out on strike. These members have children. These members have families. These members will eventually teach back all the lectures that are missed during this time. They are going to mark papers into the night. They are going to try to squeeze semesters together. And all the work they have missed, they are still going to do the work. You cannot say you will not pay them. Now, if therefore you are going to pay these people, why do you keep them at home? These are lecturers that when they sit at home and they are reading newspapers, they are reading how an individual in Nigeria has stolen up to 200 billion naira in the same government that is saying that they don't have money. They are reading about how hundreds of thousands or millions of barrels of oil is stolen, are stolen from Nigeria. They know the value of these things. They are hearing about how money is squandered, how tickets for presidential election is bought with 100 million by people, by government officials. And you are talking about a professor who lectured that minister. And the professor can no longer feed his family. And you are telling him to call off the strike. Have you ever visited our universities? It looks like a dungeon. Students live in very inhuman environments. Most of us, of my generation, we use the public institutions. We never use private schools. I attended the University of Nigeria. It's one of the federal universities. But things were completely and totally different from what they are now. What is ASU asking for that the government cannot do? Why don't you declare an emergency on education? Why don't you shut a number of things down and then face these people and let them go back to school? Because if they go back to school, you produce the students that will either serve Nigeria internally or be shipped abroad to earn us foreign exchange from our diaspora remittances. Or you at least educate your population and take them out from becoming ready recruits into criminality, into banditry, into armed robbery, and so and other problems. So, for not confronting the issue of ASU, I think the government is just being totally irresponsible. And when I hear ministers come to television and say things that are unprintable, it is so pathetic. It's so pathetic about our country. So I urge government, solve the problem of ASU I am not in sympathy with the government who can allow so much wastage and still be asking us.
We have a call online. Thank you, sir. Let's take this call. Pastor Henry, thank you for calling in.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Oh, you are from my state, Enugu. I love you.
Thank you.
Please, a little contribution I want to make with regard to ASO strike. In this country, if we have not promulgated the law that restricts or forbids all elected officers from letting their children to school abroad, we can never fix the education system of this country. Why are they reluctant about all these issues? Because their children are not part of what we're doing here. They are abroad studying. Every day we see them graduating. The governors will go there, graduate their children, celebrate there, and we will be suffering here. So unless we make a law that prohibits the politicians from their children schooling abroad, we can't get it right. So that is my contribution.
All right, thank you so much, Pastor Henry, for calling in. We appreciate you. Yeah. So viewers, we encourage you, just as he has called, to please call in for your comment and contributions. Yeah, you were still making your point before that call came in, and he has made a very valid point. Yeah. But the thing is, those who are making these laws, or even the governors themselves, end up becoming members of the National Assembly. Would they allow this kind of law?
Why not? Okay, now let me give you an example. That is why I think that this experience with this government is so tragic. Imagine the boosts that the government got by us hearing and reading and verifying that the Vice President of Nigeria had his surgery in one of the hospitals here in Nigeria.
Exactly.
If you travel to UK, travel to America, travel to Canada, the doctors that will see you there are Nigerians. So why is it that we cannot put things right in Nigeria and keep these doctors, these lecturers, these professionals,
and we keep our resources
inside here? If a president, even if it is symbolic, if you want to do surgery, if you want to attend to your health, bring whoever from any part of Nigeria, bring the person to come to Nigeria to attend to you. It is so shameful that a president, government officials will leave our shores and go outside the country and then pour money into other economies by way of medical tourism. It is so pathetic.
It is. We have a caller online, Bokola from Zamfara. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in. Please go ahead and make your comment.
I want to contribute on this issue.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, and then I'm here. One of the leaders talking about education. What I want to contribute is that I'm not blaming who I blame is our president. That just end on the primary because he was head of that's the reason why he doesn't know the value of education. If you know the value of education, that at least also this like our that why they are spending billions of naira for now actually doesn't have anything. That's what my contribution.
All right, thank you so much for calling in. Yeah, so let me take the last story here while we go on a short break. The next story here is on the issue of Nigerian economy shrink by 63 billion naira. 28 sectors struggles. 28 sectors of the economy decline in the second quarter of 2022 as real gross domestic product shrunk by 63.49 billion on quarter. according to the data from the statistic body, the agriculture sector witnessed mixed positives, with 2 sub-sectors witnessing growth and the other 2 recording decline. Your thought on this?
Okay.
28 are struggling.
Like I said again, it's not a surprise. Why? Our farmers are out of the farm. They cannot access the farm because of insecurity, and nobody cares. Nobody is trying to give the farmers the security they need to continue production. If you ask my presidential candidate would normally say, if you ask him this kind of question, he'll tell you it's very easy. And he's not just talking. Really, to develop Nigeria is to me, is the easiest thing. Because it is very easy to move from a negative. If you go to America and try to make an impact as a president, you have to struggle and struggle to make an impact because the place is already developed. The people have food to eat. They have shelter over their head. But to develop Nigeria, just go and take some 30,000 square kilometers of land and cultivate it. You make a very huge impact, not only in Nigeria, not only in feeding ourselves, but in the global food market. Today, we import wheat from Ukraine that is at war. And when a shipload leaves Ukraine to Africa, all of us are in anxious excitement, waiting for the shipload of wheat to come from Ukraine. Recently, I heard the bread makers, they gathered together and then they tried to figure out, they commissioned a study, a research, and they were able to find out that they can actually produce bread with our own local agricultural produce. Either, what do you call it, millet. So now, why is the government not thinking along that line? And now that the bread makers have come up with this research, what is going to be the response of government? Are they going to go ahead and immediately, encourage them, put money there, and at least stem the spending, the foreign exchange spends of our scarce foreign exchange resources? Are they going to do that, or are they going to let that one also go?
All right, thank you so much. I think we take two more stories here, and then we move on to the next topic of discussion. Buhari assents to aviation, social workers, and other bills. And then the other one that is so disturbing is the issue of protests in Kuje prison over inmates' death. So your thought on this? Someone must have been careless about his work for that kind of thing to have happened in such a place. So your thought on this? Buhari assenting aviation bill. I don't know, what is it? Is it for Air Nigeria or what? I don't know if you have the details.
Well, I wish it is not for Air Nigeria. I don't have the details, but I wish it is not for Air Nigeria, because government should have no business getting investment, putting investment into aviation. That's in operating an airline. I don't support it, and I'm sure that's the position of my party.
Yeah, but other countries are doing well on this.
Which country is doing well? No, UK and their British Airways, they have pulled back. British Airways today is being managed by a private company.
Okay.
South African airline is still has private management. These are just flag carriers, but they are not managed by government.
By government.
And if the government has too much money, which I know they don't have, and they must invest in an airline, they must take the minority shares. They must take nothing more than 40% of any share.
Okay,
but
so
why do you reinvent the wheel? Why do you go take your scarce resources to where it is not even needed? There are airlines in Nigeria that are showing us that airlines can actually be managed by private individuals and they make impact. Look at Air Peace today. It's a privately owned airline. It has done very well. Other airlines in Nigeria, privately owned, have done very well. But those ones that, okay, imagine when Air Peace, Arik Air struggled and government took it over. After taking over and pouring so much money into that airline, what has become of Arik Air? They are still dying and waking like cock. Why? Because of government investment. While Air Peace is steadily acquiring more and more fleets, establishing more and more routes, connecting the whole of Nigeria, connecting Dubai, connecting South Africa, connecting London.
Even China.
And China and Guangzhou now. So why is it that we cannot just encourage these private initiatives? Even if we want to invest, you can also, okay, Air Peace is doing so well. Maybe their capacity to expand their fleets may be limited. Okay, I take 40 or 39% of investment, which comes to so much. Then they can now expand their fleet. You can make them your national carrier, but Nigeria government must not own investment or own an airline. To me, it doesn't make any sense.
Thank you.
Of course, and
the protests.
Yeah, the protests in Kuje prison. The worst had happened in Kuje prison. So I just hope they deal with this issue peacefully with the prisoners there, because the worst had happened to them. If we could record the kind of break in Kuje prison and up to more than 800 inmates had to leave, then nothing can be worse than that. But somebody has lost his life. That is the tragedy here. The investigation must be carried out to unravel the circumstances. Because for inmates to protest, why are they protesting? It may be because maybe the handling of that particular circumstances may have issues. So the government must give, though they are inmates, they must be given the assurance that their lives are safe, even within the correctional facility.
All right, thank you so much. Viewers, this is the much we can take on the trending stories for today. We now pause here to go on a short break, and when we return, we'll be going into the topic for discussion. You won't want to miss it. Please stay tuned.
Is not unexpected anywhere, because Bible said no peace for the wicked. This is what many people have refused to understand. Asking for peace in Nigeria now is like asking for something that's impossible, because you must be a peace man to have peace. Bible says there's no peace for the wicked. When a man is wicked, it doesn't matter who the man is, whether it's a bishop or a president or a governor or a senator. If he's wicked, he can never have peace. This enjoy peace. Mark my word. In the next few years, in the next few months, you see it. There will be peace in this nation. Because you can't throw them away. The Bible says, no peace for the wicked. How do you say that? The Bible says so. So when you see a man who is wicked, how do you expect peace to come from? Where? Even in your homes. If your father or your mother or his uncle is wicked, you can't have peace. So Nigeria cannot have peace because who are the leaders? They are wicked people. Bible says when the righteous rule. Talk to me, what do you say? Who rejoice? So why don't we rejoice? So is righteous ruling? So why do you want to have the people rejoicing? These are scriptures. And they are basic scriptures. They are foundational scriptures.
Earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. Governance is the act of God. Even the system of government we have now is taken from the Bible. The Lord your God is your king. That's executive government. He is your lawmaker. That's legislature. He is your righteous judge. Is judiciary. So he's the King of kings and the Lord of lords. Nebuchadnezzar said he reigns in the affairs of men. He enthrones and he dethrones. Therefore, Christians must be involved in every aspect of governance at every level. Martin Luther King Jr. was the one who spearheaded the revolution of the black civil rights movement in America, that gave recognition to the blacks in America to today. He was the one who had the dream that put them to where they are now. And so he was a full-time Baptist gentleman. Martin Luther was the one that led the revolution against Roman Catholicism and opened up Protestantism, that brought up the Renaissance and the Enlightenment and the development in the arts and the sciences today. So we, as Christians, we are the light of the world and the salt of the earth. We must directly take charge of governance. Politics or governance is running the affairs of a world created by our God.
Welcome back, viewers, and if you are just joining us, this is still the Now Streaming Show. Remember, you can be part of the discussion by calling the number showing on your screen or via commenting on our various social media handles. All right, let's go straight to the discussion segment where we'll be treating the topic 2023 General Election, Building the Nigeria We Want. Still with me in the studio is Honorable Dennis Agbo. You're welcome once again.
Thank you.
And what is your take on the topic that is before us, and where did Nigeria got it wrong as a nation?
Well, 2023, building a nation that works for us, for everybody. I think that the coming election of 2023 is really, some people have described it as a make or mar. I am investing a whole lot of hope in that election. I am investing a whole lot of expectations in that election. I think we have an opportunity, really, to move forward in Nigeria, to make a difference, to join other committee of developing nations. We have an opportunity to make a departure from what has kept us where we are till today. An election is a very important event everywhere in the world. But particularly in this particular election of 2023 in Nigeria, I think it is absolutely important. For me, I'm excited. I'm excited because I see hope. And when there is hope, you can persevere, you can endure. In my place, they used to say that the hunger that has hope does not kill.
Exactly.
You can just continue to hope that very soon food will come. Very soon, things will change. Very soon, the right leadership will come to Nigeria. Very soon, the right people will take the right positions in Nigeria. That is what I urge Nigerians to do.
Okay.
Keep hope alive, because I think God is also interested in what is going to happen in 2023. I think people's prayers have been heard, and God actually plans to do something in Nigeria. We only need to cooperate efforts with God. We only need to believe. We only need to keep hope alive and do our own bit. Our own bit, people have done commendably. Because when it was time to go and obtain PVCs, Nigerians have trooped out in their numbers, and we recorded
like never before.
Yes. So a lot of interest is being put into that coming election, particularly the interest of Nigerian youths. Youths in Nigeria have suddenly realized that really this future we are talking about is our own future.
Exactly.
Some of us from the past generations, we enjoyed a better Nigeria before it was destroyed the way it has been done today. Now the youths are now saying, we cannot go into this future with the Nigeria we have today. We must build a new future. And it is possible to build a new future. And the youths have come out investing their time, investing their resources, investing their attention, investing their interest in this coming election. I think it is highly commendable. Different from people who call Nigerian youths lazy. I think Nigerian youths are the most resourceful set of people. After all, we were once Nigerian youths. I was once a youth. There's nothing I'm doing today more than what I did as a youth. In fact, I'm just like coasting now. But when I did things that you can say, this is a good achievement, it was in the bracket when I will be referred to as a youth. Most of the people who are still holding on to leadership in Nigeria today came into leadership as youths. At the age of 29, at the age of 31, at the age of 34, at the age of 35. They became presidents at 32, head of state at 32. But if you leave them, they will still want to occupy the position even at 86. So I think that the youths, take back Nigeria is a serious matter. It's a serious project. Take back your country. We enjoyed free meals in the university. We enjoyed a man to his bed in the university. Take back your country so that you can have a country that will deliver that kind of good to you. That is what I urge.
All right. Now,
keep hope alive.
Now with what you have said, then why did we get it wrong? Why didn't we have the opportunity of my generation did not have the opportunity of enjoying what your generation enjoyed?
Yeah. Talking about where we got it wrong. I think the discovery of oil in Nigeria has not served as a fortune for us. It has served as a curse to Nigeria. Because somehow we departed from production. We went into sharing. No longer is a state in Nigeria being ingenious, being resourceful, looking inwards as to what resources God has given to that particular state and how they can bring something to the table in Nigeria. Governors are lazy. Government officials are lazy.
Because they know at the end of the month, they go to Abuja, they pick a check and come home. And then they live on that check. That is why, again, our presidential candidate in Labour Party has said this very clearly, that he intends to change Nigeria from sharing formula to production formula. In other words, what you share will be determined by how much you bring to the table. That is about resource control. That's about giving benefit to those who will invest effort in producing, in bringing something to in baking a larger cake for everybody. Why is it that a country like us will end up with $30 billion total revenue? It's not right. Each state in Nigeria can bring something substantial to the table. Therefore, so I talk about moving us from consumption to production. And also, our constitution is warped. People have described our constitution in Nigeria as the major stumbling block we have. Some people have described it as a fraud. It is the biggest impediment to our progress. But that's still, even before we deal with the Constitution, there's a lot we can do before we start reforming or rewriting the Constitution by just simply saying, let us move Nigeria from consumption to production. Let us move ourselves from sharing formula to production formula. This is what a president can do. This is how there's a lot we can do by encouraging Nigerians who want to produce. So, leadership is key. We got it wrong when we discovered oil and we started moving from production to consumption, from production to sharing. We got it wrong in the writing of our constitution, which we inherited. It's a unitary constitution, which we inherited from the military with their unitary command. And it is disequitable. I heard some people discussing the constitution yesterday, and they were talking about a constitution that allocates resources to land mass instead of to population.
I was listening to some people discuss the constitution yesterday, and they were saying that one particular state in Nigeria has 44 local governments, and each of these local governments has a share in the national resources.
Of course.
The contemplation of our constitution in Nigeria is not that the local governments in Nigeria should have a line of sight. That's not the contemplation of the. That is why the constitution gives the management of the local governments, keeps the management of the local government under the state. That is why they talk about the JAC, the joint accounts between the local government and the state. The contemplation, therefore, is that a state really can go ahead and create its local government.
Exactly.
But that the local government you create cannot have a line of sight at the center. They cannot be part of the revenue sharing formula. Anything you produce in your state, whatever, the federating units in Nigeria do not include the local governments. The federating units in Nigeria are the states. Therefore, what is the business of a local government having a share of our federation account? But if you in your state, you think you need 100 local governments, so be it. Create them. You go to the center as a federating unit, you pick your own allocation, you come home, you share it among your local government. Then you can manage them. Then you can appoint your local government.
We have a caller. Thank you, sir. Kevin, thank you for calling in.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. How is Warri this morning?
Okay, let me appreciate the people there in the studio. And the topic discussion, general election building the Nigeria we want. I think to me as a person, as a Nigerian, we should look outside partisan politics as far as the election is concerned and vote individual that has what it takes to take Nigeria to the next level. That is my point. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, let me pick you up on this now. What led to your defection from PDP? Why did you choose to run under Labour Party at this point in time? We want to hear from you.
Yeah. Even as a banker, I never wanted to move from one bank to the other.
Yeah.
I stayed with one bank. Sometimes people say, why don't you just move and get a higher position? No. I stayed with one bank. My movement, I worked in essentially 3 banks before I left the banking industry. I never wanted to leave the PDP. I thought we could stay there and solve
some
whatever
of the
problem we have. But number one major thing, I come from the southeast. In PDP, we are at this particular point in time concluding an 8-year tenure of a northerner.
Yes.
Naturally, power should come to the southern part of Nigeria. For PDP to retain its presidency in the north, I can't explain it. I can't even talk to my people about it. Number 2, when power comes to the south, southwestern Nigeria has had the presidency for 8 years.
Yes.
And they are having the vice presidency for another 8 years. Southern Nigeria has had the presidency for 6 years and vice presidency for 2 years. The only section of Nigeria that has not had any shot at the presidency or vice presidency is the southeast. And this is the return of democracy in 1999.
Yes.
Therefore, and consistently from 1999, the southeastern part of Nigeria has faithfully supported PDP and their agenda. We have waited patiently. We have supported their programs. We have voted for PDP. If you know, if you recall, right from 1999 up to date, there's a particular zone in Nigeria that has consistently, without wavering, voted for PDP.
Exactly.
Till today. Even when Buhari won, President Buhari won the election in 2015, the South is voted massively for PDP. Even as a sitting president, Buhari recontested in 2019. We still kept faith with PDP. We voted massively for PDP. Now, why is it that when it came to the point where it was very clear to everybody that power should go to the Southeast, you begin to form committees, you begin to prevaricate, you begin to drag your feet on the, slowly, you begin to move, you begin to speak grammar, and then at the end of the day, you deny my zone the presidency. That is one major problem I have with PDP. Then next is the monetization of politics. I thought that as an opposition party, we should be able to bring a picture of a better picture of comparisons.
Exactly.
We should be able to say, look, the monetization of politics in your party, we don't like it, and so we are doing it this way. This is how we should be. Nigerians should look at us and see that we are trying to do it better. But, at our primary election also became monetized.
Heavily.
In other words, going ahead to throw up maybe not the best material, but those who are money bags. Now giving it to the highest bidder. And so it was shocking to some of us that we were not bringing to the table what we preach. Thirdly, every politics is local. And if you go back to, apart from the national level, if you go back to my state, following after the thing that the PDP was doing at the national level, as a matter of fact, it was even my own governor that was made a chairman of a certain committee that was supposed to do the zoning, to recommend the zoning. And then, instead of calling a spade, they started prevaricating. They started dragging their feet. Not only that, all our normal rotation arrangements locally, we were not going by it. Finally, in the same vein, when the straw that broke the camel's back was when P2B left PDP. I looked around and I found out that there was nothing to wait for again. Because he plays my kind of, or I play his kind of politics. I would rather lose doing the right thing than win doing the wrong thing. In my state, they call me Mr. Integrity. That's many people don't even know my name. Because I play the same type of politics with him. But I was saying, if P2B remains in PDP, maybe there could be hope. Maybe we will be able to patch things up. Maybe we'll be able to find a way out of this mess. But when P2B left, I looked around and I knew that there was nothing, no more day for me to stay in PDP. And I had to go. Okay. All right. And I think it has been the best decision I've ever made. Because now, for me in Labour Party, it's like homecoming. I look around and now things we can decide now to. We are still going to work with Nigerians, but we will be able to forge ahead and try to construct something that resembles what Nigerians want.
Thank you so much. The last question, I want to take it as your last word because we're out of time. What should Nigerians consider in electing leaders for various positions come 2023? What should we be considering? So I want you to address the audience now and tell them these are the things they should consider in electing their leaders, and then we'll run off from there. Okay.
Nigerians, when you go to the polls in 2023, I need you to elect a leader that is detribalized, a leader that has capacity, that has competence, that has the right education and the right exposure. Elect a leader that can take Nigeria from where we are, who has the track record, who has done it before, who by his lifestyle, who by his disposition, who by his education and exposure, by his utterances, assures you that he is going to take Nigeria to the destination of our choice, namely, move us away from consumption country, move us away into production. A leader that has no corruption taint on him. A leader that when you check his background, you cannot find any fault in him. At least within the scope of a human possibility. Elect a leader of the right age. Because you can say that very old people have done well in other countries, like America, like in America 1, America 2. But do we have the same kind of healthcare system they have? Do we have the same kind of burden? Nigeria is very complicated. Let me not say the most complicated country to govern, but we are difficult to govern. We don't even have the right medical facilities to take care of our aged. Now, elect somebody who can carry the burden of Nigeria, and carry it with grace. There are presidents that are 40-something years, 30-something years. Elect among the youngest of these presidents. The one that has the capacity, the competence, the track record, the right education, and has the global world view about possibilities where Nigeria can be taken. Because Nigeria has a great amount of potential.
Thank you so much. We must appreciate you for finding our time to be here, Honorable Dennis Agbo, a candidate of the House of Representatives for Udenu Igboeze North Federal Constituency. Thank you so much for your time. Viewers, this is where we call it a day for today's program. Till we come your way again, same time, same station tomorrow. Do have a wonderful day. I am Smart Sunday Simon, and goodbye.